To celebrate the launch of Pokemon Legends Arceus, dependable, I'm going to crochet one of the Hisuian Pokemon, and the one we're going to do today is, ta-da! Hisuian Zorua. Yay! So come along as I show you how to crochet this adorable baby right here. And don't worry, if you can't follow along with the instructions in the video, I will provide the full written pattern as well for you guys to use for your leisure. Hooray, let's go.
Alright, let's talk about supplies. You're gonna need a light grey yarn, some white yarn, black yarn, this nice dusty light coloured pink, and also a darker rosy pink. These are all DK sized yarns. Now, you're also going to need a crochet hook, darning needle, stitch markers, pins, felting needle, a pair of scissors, and also this pet brush, and I'll explain why later. So we're going to start off by doing a magic ring with 6 stitches inside it. So I wrap my yarn around my fingers twice, grab a loop with my crochet hook, pull through, and that gives us the ring to crochet into. So what I'm going to do now is do 6 single crochet by going into the loop, yarning over, pulling through. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, and just all the way until eventually I have 6 single crochet inside of my ring. Now, once I've got 6 single crochet inside of my ring, I'm going to pull that string right there just to close up the loop, and we are now going to single crochet twice into each of those 6 stitches to make 12 stitches, as we can see here. Now for the next round, we are going to want to crochet 1 single crochet stitch into the next 2 stitches, followed by an increase in the 3rd stitch, and we want to repeat this 6 times around until we have 24 stitches. And the next couple of rows are pretty similar, and we want to do this until we finish a row of 7 single crochet followed by an increase 6 times around, leaving us with a total of 48 stitches. After increasing the top of the head so that I had 48 stitches around, I then went ahead and did 7 rounds of 48, and that forms the top of the head, as you can see by this funny little bowl shape right here. So the next step for this is to start decreasing and stuffing. So similar to what I did with the increases, in which I went a single crochet, increase, and then went all the way up to 7, we want to do this in reverse. So I'm starting off with 7 single crochets, decrease 6 times around, followed by 6 single crochet, decrease 6 times around, and all the way back down until I only end up with decreases. Now when I get to the row where I do 4 single crochet and a decrease, I start stuffing around here, because if I make the hole any smaller before stuffing it, it gets really hard to shape. So I've just got some fiber fill here, and I am going to pretty much aggressively smush it into the head. And after it's, I would say, 2/3 of the way smushed in, I then keep continuing with my decrease rounds. So I move on to 3 single crochet, decreases 6 times around, and then 2 single crochet and decrease 6 times around. While I'm still decreasing though, I keep stuffing in fiber fill just so I can make sure that the head is shaped enough and has enough support to hold the nice round little shape when I eventually close it off. Moving on to the nose. So I wanted the nose to have a more substantial slope at the top of it and have it more, I guess, flat on the bottom side. So how I did this was that I concentrated majority of the increases at the top of the nose. So I started with a magic ring, however instead of 6 stitches this time, I only did 3 stitches inside. I then increased it to 6, and then I single crocheted 2 and increase times 2. And then I continued this pattern, so single crochet 3, and then I increased, and I did that twice, single crochet 4, and then I increased, doing that twice again, single crochet 5, and increase, and doing that twice again. Now here's where things get a little bit different, because I wanted to start really concentrating the bulk of the increases at the top of the nose. So I did one single crochet and then I increased, and I did that 3 times. But then around when I got to the bottom of the nose, I did 8 single crochet stitches without any increases. And then for the next row, I single crochet 1 and then I increased, and I repeated that 5 times. And then I did 7 single crochets at the base of the nose. For the last row of the nose, I did 1 single crochet and I increased, and I repeated that 8 times, followed by 6 single crochet along the base of the nose. After that, I fastened it off and it was time to move on to the ears. The ear was actually pretty straightforward. It started off at a point and then it got kind of wider towards the middle before coming back in together around the bottom. So I started with a magic ring of 4 and then I increased all the way until this point here, and then I just decreased slightly for the last 2 rows just to create that slightly pointy leaf looking shape, and I just made 2 of these. Now once all the facial features were done, I then moved on to the body. For Zorua, I wanted it to be lying down, kind of in like a spoot sort of shape, because I thought that was really cute. So the goal here was to make it so that the shape would be flat on the part where it was lying down, but a more pronounced curve where the butt and the back would be. So this is how I did it. I started off with a magic ring with 6 stitches inside it, increased in every stitch until I had 12, and then single crocheted 1 stitch and increased 6 times until I had 18. However, this is where things changed just a little bit. Because I wanted the body to be flat on the part where he was laying down, I had to concentrate a bulk of the stitches around the sides and the top. And the pattern gets a bit long here, but I've written down all the instructions so that you guys can follow along, which would be a lot easier than me verbally explaining it. But basically, I increased around the sides and top, keeping the bottom as just straight single crochets with no increases until I got this big circle right here, or should I say oval. And after achieving supreme oval shape, you can see how its butt was kind of shaped. So I then started decreasing around the sides and the top just to give it that slope, but you can see here that it keeps the belly nice and flat so it's not raising up when he lies down. And then we stuff it aggressively as we do, and it should wonderfully join to the head like so. To make the feet, I started off with 6 single crochets in a magic ring, increased in every stitch up to 12, and then I did 1 single crochet followed by an increase repeated 6 times until I had 18 stitches. Then I did 8 single crochet followed by an increase, and I repeated that pattern twice till I had 20 stitches. Now, this is how we shape the foot so that instead of a more rounded shape, we get a more blocky foot-like shape. And how we do this is by crocheting in the back loop only. So if you look at your single crochet stitches, you're going to see a funny little braid-like shape. And the back loop only stitch is when you crochet only in, well, you guessed it, the back loop, which is this one right here. After doing that, I just did a single crochet in every stitch all the way around. And then for the next round, in order to shape the foot better, I ended up doing 3 decreases in the round. I'll put the exact pattern down here, but I also have a written copy for you guys as well. Now, this is the point where I changed to silver, and when I changed to silver, I started off with just single crocheting in every single stitch around, which gave me 17 stitches, and then I started gradually increasing until I ended up with 24 stitches. And basically, that is a foot. But, you know, Zorua also has a second foot, so let's go ahead and make that second foot right now. Here we go. And now it's time to make the hands. So the arms, I started off with doing a magic ring, increasing around to 12 stitches, and then increasing to 18. From there, I changed to silver, and then I started decreasing just to shape the paw a bit. And then I ended up basically increasing it back to 18, 20, 22, fastening it off. And like with feet, Zorua has 2 paws. At this point, I was getting real excited, you know, because it was starting to finally take shape and I was just getting really keen. I could see it happening. But which brings me to basically the kind of the most tedious, which was the little fur tufts on its head, tail, and also around its neck. So starting off with another magic ring with 6 stitches in it, I increased that to 12, increased that to 18, and then I crocheted up in the back loop only to make it more, square, cylinder-like shape, and it ended up turning into this little weird teardroppy gumdrop marshmallow type of thing. I cut strips of white, pink, and rose-colored yarn, and I basically started knotting them on the little teardrop shape. So I put the rosy pink yarn at the top, and then towards the middle I did the blushy dusty pink yarn, and around the base I did the white coloured yarn. This is where the pet brush that I mentioned earlier comes into play. It kind of looks like just some weird little coral type of thing. And basically you want to grab your pet brush now and just brush the life out of it. And you can see it's gonna fluff up the yarn and start making it look fluffy. Look at that. Look at how cute. And it just fits onto the butt like so. Moving on to the tuft on its head, starting with 6 single crochet stitches inside a magic ring and forming this little thimble looking thing which I stuffed lightly. And then I just attached the yarn in a similar manner that I did for the tail, although in a much smaller quantity, and you guessed it, it is time to brush the heck out of it. And it becomes this fuzzy little calcifer looking furball right here. And this is where I furiously smushed it down and pinned it to the top of its head so I could get a better grasp of what's going on. And from here I then attached the legs because I had to do the tuft around the neck and I didn't want my hands to constantly be whacking the tuft when I had to eventually sew the legs on. And once the legs were on, it was finally time to do the neck tufts. The neck tufts were a little bit more difficult because essentially I wanted to attach the white yarn around the neck and kind of in the armpit area, and also attach some rosy pink yarn behind it and brush it out so I didn't have to crochet a very narrow piece and wrap it around the neck. And I have to say, I really like how it ended up turning out. So as you can see here, I am just attaching the white yarn to the base of the neck, and once again I am having a bit of difficulty with doing this. This took a while. I'm not gonna lie, this one took longer than the tail, but the end result was super cute, so I really liked it. Now this is where I wanted to attach the rosy coloured yarn behind the white tufts, and I cut these longer because the tufts around the neck end longer when it comes to the rosy bits. So I'm just sticking in my crochet hook there and just pulling a few strands through. And I ended up attaching about 8 to 9 strands per side just to make sure that there was enough pinky dusty dark pink colour when I brushed it out. I'm gonna have to say a word of caution here, just really be careful with that pet brush, it is sharp. I ended up stabbing my fingertip and bleeding, and that was not a fun time. And now it was time to attach the head. Now the following footage, I did film it before I attached the legs, but just play along, okay? So the head goes onto the body as it does, and it should look like this little drumstick right here. And then I put the legs on, and then I did the tail and the neck tufts before I put the arms on. But you might be thinking, hang on, how do we actually do the face? Well, today's your lucky day because I'm going to show you exactly what I did to get the nice little features that Zorua has on its little face. To start off with, you're going to need the following things: orange carding, the rosy pink and black yarn, and also some pink carding and your felting needle. If you guess that we are now felting the features on, then good on you, have a cookie. Basically, I felted on the eyes by first getting a strip of that black yarn, pulling it apart, which explains those little wiggly looking black noodle things on the table, and using the felting needle to just stab it onto its face. It sounds violent, but I absolutely love felting. I think it produces the nicest result. So I did the circle, and then I did the slanted bit, and then just filled it with pink, orange, and the white, and look how cute it looks. And I need to do the other eye as well. And with the ears, because it has the black triangle in the ears, I actually used felting to do this part as well, rather than crocheting a black triangle and then sewing it on. I just prefer this look a bit more. So I basically just used a strip of yarn and crocheted around, and there are my ears. And now just to attach the 2 ears, it's looking super cute, and to give it a bit of a style, I ended up actually using a straightener on low heat just to flatten out the hair a little bit, and I think it looks a lot better. If you do end up doing this, I would just say be really careful. I turned the straightener on, let it heat up on the lowest setting, and then turned it off and waited about a minute before I actually applied it to the acrylic yarn because I didn't want anything to melt. And with the hairstyling treatment that we gave to Zorua, it is finally done. I am so happy with how this turned out. I think it is absolutely adorable. It's super cute. I'm so happy.
I'm super duper happy with this. I think this is so freaking cute. I'm really happy with how it turned out. I was a bit skeptical about the tufts here for the tail and the neck bit, and also the little tuft on the head, because I wasn't super sure if they turn out to be well shaped. But honestly, I'm so happy with how this looks. I think it's so cute. I really love it. Anyway, thank you so much for hanging out and watching me crochet this little cutie right here. I do have the full pattern that I've written up with more detailed instructions, and I've just chucked the link to that below in the description box. If you guys have any requests as to what other crochets you might want to see me do, please feel free to pop them down in the comments below. I absolutely love crocheting Pokemon, and I also would like to dabble in crocheting some Animal Crossing characters, maybe in a future video. So once again, thank you so much, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye!